Chapter 5. As Pat approached the lifeless bodies of his friends, sprawled on the kitchen floor, a profound sense of shock and disbelief washed over him. Placing his trembling hand on their motionless forms, he couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sadness. "I apologize, my dear friend," he whispered, his voice filled with genuine remorse. Determined to honor his friend's memory, Pat made a heartfelt promise to take care of their daughter, ensuring she would receive the love and support she deserved. Weighed down by a profound sadness, he solemnly bowed his head, struggling to hold back the flood of tears, and granted himself a precious moment of silence to meditate on the immense emptiness that had just entered his existence. Stood up, he made his way over to Samara, gently took her hands in his own. "My dear, your father entrusted me with a special task," he began, his voice filled with warmth and sincerity. "He wanted me to promise him that I would always be there for you, no matter what may come our way." Pat shared, "Your father sought me out 2 decades ago, during a period of utter despair that plagued the once vibrant city of Las Vegas." In a hushed tone, he unraveled a chilling tale that sent shivers down my spine. It was a truth so unfathomable, so grotesque, that it defied all reason. He revealed to me the existence of bloodthirsty vampires, savage werewolves, malevolent witches, and the unholy presence of zombies that skulked in the darkest recesses of our world. Samara was left speechless, her jaw hanging open in disbelief. "So those creatures were the ones who attacked us?" she exclaimed. Pat nodded solemnly. "Yes, judging by what I've seen here, I would say they were vampires. Their strength and speed are beyond human capabilities." A mix of sorrow and rage filled Samara as she processed the fact that these creatures had been the ones to launch the attack on them. Pat's voice took on a sense of urgency as they exclaimed, "I really need you to come with me. Could you please gather your belongings quickly? It's not safe for us to stay here in case they return." Samara's heart sank as she acknowledged the reality that she would soon have to bid farewell to her beloved home. She nodded in sadness as she left the room. She slowly made her way to her room, trying to gather her belongings while holding back tears. Samara carefully packs her clothes, making sure to include some pictures that will bring her comfort during her time away. Moving on to the bathroom, she grabs her essentials, a brush, shampoo, conditioner, and toothpaste, knowing that these items will help her feel a sense of normalcy even when she's far from home. Each item she packed served as a reminder of the life she was leaving behind, but also as a source of strength as she prepared herself for the days and nights ahead. As she stepped out from the darkness, a sense of sadness weighed heavily on her heart. In her trembling hands, she tightly held a bag brimming with a diverse assortment of belongings, each one carrying its own significance. The corners of her eyes glistened with unshed tears, reflecting the depth of her emotions. "All right, Mr. Valentine, I suppose I am prepared to depart," she whispered, her voice trembling with sadness. Pat's response was gentle, yet filled with a tinge of melancholy. "Please call me Pat," he softly requested, his voice laced with a hint of sorrow. Sensing her vulnerability, he extended his hand towards her bag, offering his assistance in carrying her belongings to the waiting car. With her belongings in hand, they made their way towards his sleek black luxury sedan. As they reached the car, they opened the trunk to carefully stow away her possessions. Meanwhile, she walked over to the passenger side door, opened it, and sank into the seat. Overwhelmed by a profound sense of sadness, she rested her elbows on her knees and buried her face in her hands. The weight of heartbreak consumed her, and tears streamed down her face as she began to sob uncontrollably. Pat approached the car's driver's side door and took a seat beside Samara, who was engulfed in a torrent of tears. With a heavy heart, he extended his hand towards her back, offering a gentle touch in an attempt to alleviate her overwhelming sorrow. His fingers moved tenderly, caressing her back in a soothing manner, hoping to provide some solace amidst her deep anguish. Within a short span of time, he ignited the engine of the car and departed from the location. While they were driving off, Samara's initial ache gradually transformed into a numb sensation, almost as if she had shed her final tear. Despite being overwhelmed with sorrow, she found herself staring out of the window, yearning for the chance to embrace her parents once more. Her mind snapped back to the present, but the past still clung to her like a ghostly presence. She continued to navigate the desolate streets, the eerie sound of unknown creatures echoing in her ears. The rain poured relentlessly from the sky, as if the heavens themselves wept for the world's sorrows, saturating everything in its path. The lightning streaked across the dark expanse above, a dazzling display of power and beauty that briefly illuminated the night before plunging it back into darkness. Behind the thick veil of storm clouds, the full moon cast an unsettling glow, adding to the unsettling atmosphere. It felt as though the very forces of nature were locked in a battle, unleashing chaos and destruction upon the world. In that moment, reality seemed to unravel, and the possibilities were endless in the midst of that tempestuous night. Between the looming shadows of towering buildings, she moved with a sense of urgency, navigating the narrow alleyways like a ghostly apparition in search of the source of the eerie howling that pierced the silence of the night. Her steps echoed through the labyrinth of concrete and steel, each footfall a whispered secret in the darkness. As she drew closer to the haunting sound, the air grew thick with anticipation, swirling around her like an invisible cloak of mystery. With a heart filled with both fear and curiosity, she pressed on, drawn inexorably towards the unknown. It was a dance of danger and desire, a symphony of shadows and sounds that beckoned her deeper into the unknown abyss of the night. Like a solitary wolf in a forest of uncertainty, she embraced the thrill of the chase, her senses heightened and her spirit wild with anticipation. The howling grew louder, more insistent, as if the night itself was calling out to her, urging her to step boldly into the heart of the unknown. For in that moment, she was not just a mere mortal treading the urban jungle, but a fearless adventurer on the cusp of discovery, ready to unravel the enigma that awaited her in the darkness.